Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is lesson 424. The title of today's lesson is How to Read Money in English. Yeah, a lot of students have problems with it, especially beginners, and even sometimes some more advanced students have problems. And I did notice when the number is bigger, they have more problems too. All right, but let's look at the rules of the way you should do it. Read the amount of money first, the whole number, okay. Then the currency, so you read the currency second, and if coinage, a lot of times there's no coinage, but if coinage has a name in the currency, add it at the end. Okay, so let's start with something simple. Obviously this over here, we should read this as 15 US dollars. Yeah, so you're reading the 15 first, and then you're reading the currency US dollars. Okay, good. What you don't do is read it as US dollars 15. That, of course, would be wrong. All right, now let's look at the next one. All right, now this one does have coinage. So what would be correct? You would say a 155. Now, if you wanted to read the currency here, if they have the currency in, you'd read it as 155 US dollars and 34 cents. But you don't have to here if it's understood. You just simply read it as $155.34. Okay. Now, what you don't do is you don't do this where it has the X. You don't read it as $155.34. You don't read that. Sometimes students make a mistake. They will read the coinage as point. We don't use the word point in coinage. We say cents, 34 cents. We don't say 0.34. Okay, let's look at the next one here. Now, sometimes if you're buying something, if you were in the US and somebody asks how much, they just might. Now, if you're in the country, they're probably not going to say US dollars. They'll just say 155.34. They could just answer that without even saying the word dollars. Or they could say $155.34. They could do it either way. Okay, let's continue. Now, another tricky part is, remember, I tell you don't read point in coinage, but you do read the point in really, really large numbers. So we have an example here. The budget is $5.2 billion. Okay, in really large numbers. There's no coinage here. This is like really large amounts of money, or that it cost $7.3 trillion. You do read the points in really, really large amounts of money. If the whole number is written out, I wouldn't read it as a point. I'd just read it normal. So you could say the budget is, like here in this case, you could say 3,200,000 US dollars. So if you have the whole number written out like that, don't read points. Just read it as whatever you see. 3,200,000 US dollars. All right, and of course, we have other currencies here. We say the bill comes to 24 pounds and 30 pence. So the British say pence, Americans say cents. Okay. All right. So again, you wouldn't do the same thing. You wouldn't read it as the bill comes to 24.30 pounds. You don't read it that way. The British sometimes will use the word p instead of pence. So they could say, 24 pounds and 30p instead of pence. They do sometimes say that. And they do the same thing that Americans do. Like if you were there in Britain, you say how much, they just might say 24.30, meaning, and it's assumed you understand this, 24 pounds and 30 pence. Okay, good. All right, now, the next thing to really watch out for, that even advanced students who know how to read money pretty well already sometimes still mess up on this one. When the money is an adjective, read it as singular. Okay, so of course here we should read it as she owns a $2,000 computer. So $2,000 is an adjective, computer is the noun. What you don't do is you don't say she owns a $2,000 computer. Sometimes students will do that because they know 2,000 is in the plural, so you must be reading it with an S. So sometimes they'll say it that way. But if it's an adjective, it's still read as a singular. Okay, anyway, hope you got it. Hope it's clear. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.